Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, folks, there's a huge scholarship increase as far as the number of scholarships available to players. Also, Ohio State, they went to town on NIL last year, and I think it's only increasing.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Oh, yeah, they're handing out the dough like crazy. We're going to get into that. Now, let's start out with this big story. This is by Ross Dellinger and the NCAA. They're going to be increasing the number of scholarships available to each program, whether it's football, baseball, etc. And the biggest change is they're going to go from 85 scholarship limit, which it's always been that I can remember, is going to go to 105 in football, which is a huge change. Also, it sounds like they're getting rid of walk-ons, which is coaches aren't going to like that, but they're picking up 20 scholarships. So it may end up a lot of the walk-on guys, especially the preferred walk-ons, will actually be getting a free ride. So that's actually a really good thing for athletes, and I think that'll offset the walk-on problem. And what has caused this, the Power Conference commissioners, they just came up with this new plan, and it sounds like the Power Four are pretty much doing whatever they want to do now. They're kind of breaking away from all the other conferences because they really can't afford to do what the Power Four can do. And this has a lot to do with the settlement between House, Hubbard, and Carter, which they're all consolidating all of those class action lawsuits, which we've covered quite a bit here. And that's going to settle those lawsuits through payments of players, which is revenue sharing, through damages for players that should have been getting paid the previous years, and the additional scholarships. So all of that's going to wind up being about $30 million a year in revenue sharing or expenditures, all of which help players. And that's going to be pretty much every Power Four school. Now, you don't have to fully cooperate in that, but you're going to have to do quite a bit of it if you want to compete. And here it details, again, from the restriction of 85 to 105. It also talks about baseball and the other sports. Currently, baseball only has 11.7 scholarships. They can have as many as 34 now. I don't know if they'll use all those, but it is available. Also, softball and volleyball, which are currently at 12, they can increase to 25 and 18. So 60 additional scholarships are available for distribution in those 5 sports. And again, it says they're not required to distribute the scholarships, but they can if they choose to. And again, that's over the $2.77 billion settlement. And Tony Petitti of the Big Ten said the settlement's expansion of scholarships gives all kinds of opportunities for the kids. And when they do that, they can count 2.5 million of that towards the 21.5 that they're going to agree to in this settlement. And here's where it gets into the 30 million. It says for the most elite power programs, the total cost of both the scholarship and revenue sharing could be as much as 30 million bucks. And here's where you're getting into Title IX. And I was wondering when that was going to jump. Look, let me tell you something about Title IX. They're not going to sit around and watch scholarships go to male players and then the female players sit back. That absolutely will not happen. So they're going to have to kind of work this around to where female athletes are going to be getting just as many scholarship additions as the men. I'm not sure how they're going to do that because remember, football is the driving force and has the most scholarships. So you don't have an equivalent of that. There's no women's football yet. Anyway, I don't know how they're going to play that out. It's going to be this whole settlement thing with the $2.77 billion, how they're not going to split that down the middle. I don't know. I mean, obviously it shouldn't be because football is the driving force and they bring in all the money. But Title IX could care less about that. When I tell you that means nothing, it means nothing. So that's going to be a very interesting story to watch, and it's going to develop and get ugly.
Roll the ugliness.
You're also going to see a lot of salary cuts. Talks about that, staff and cuts, as well as reduction in scholarships from Olympic sports, especially those that don't generate any revenue. And you're going to see a lot of people in the administrations let go. A lot of the assistant athletic directors or assistant this, assistant that, they're going to get dropped. You saw Texas A&M drop 16 people, and that's one of the reasons why Schlosselnagel was upset. One of his key guys was let go because Texas A&M was actually cutting expenses because they knew this was coming. So when it's all said and done, what it boils down to, you're going to have 105 scholarships. This is what y'all care about. You're going to have 105 scholarships instead of 85 for football. And you're not going to have walk-ons to really speak of. So that's the big part of this. The second part of it is baseball is going to have more scholarships and the other sports as well as part of this settlement. Now we're going to get into NIL. And Ohio State, man, they are spending money like crazy. And I had a feeling they were when I saw all those great players they brought in the portal and the way they're recruiting. Here it says Ohio State players have received around $20 million in NIL. It's believed to be the largest amount in college football. And that was last year, by the way. That was from collectives, brand affiliates, etc. It says Ohio State AD Ross Bjork. And the reason we know that, Ohio State athletes are required by the school to disclose their agreements within 30 days of receiving the compensation. So before somebody from Ohio State goes in the comment section, oh no, it's only 13, it's only 13. You shouldn't say 20. It's been reported, and they've had to disclose this. So calm down. I'm just reporting what the facts are. You should be happy that you're spending so much more money than everybody else and you're getting tons of great players. Like Caleb Downs, for example. How the crap did you get that guy from Alabama? And I know Ohio State was his number 2 choice in recruiting, but still, that was an amazing pickup. You also picked up Quinshawn Judkins out of Ole Miss, which is probably the best running back in the SEC. You got a 5-star freshman quarterback, Julian Sayin, and then Will Howard from Kansas State, on top of already a completely loaded team. If Ryan Day doesn't make the playoff this year, which I fully expect him to do so, and beat Michigan,
it's got to be America's team.
He's going to be in some serious hot water because there is no team that is set up better than Ohio State as far as schedule, as far as team talent, and having everything you could possibly need. And they've already got a really good defense anyway. You put Caleb Downs on that defense, that's ridiculous. They should absolutely kill it. But they're the ones that are spending the most money. Ohio State at $20 million. I find it hard to believe anybody's spending much more than that. The only other teams that might be in that neighborhood would be some of the oil money folks, which might be a Texas or a Texas A&M. You do have the Nike money team, which is Oregon. That'd be the only ones that are probably close. I would think everybody else is down around 10, 11, 12, something along those lines, based on what I've been able to read and pick up on. And here, this also has to do with the House NCAA settlement. It says more money could be on the way, and of course it will be, because they're going to be able to do $20 million annually through revenue sharing. Again, this has nothing to do with NIL. This is revenue sharing. So you'll have NIL, which is separate of revenue sharing. So you might have the $20 million plus another $20 million. So Ohio State might be handing out $40 million through those two sources to Ohio State players, which means it's professional football. That's what college football is becoming. And let's just call it what it is. Now, you might want to call it semi-pro, which is probably a much better way to look at it, is just call it semi-pro. So anyway, 2 big stories, the biggest one obviously being the additional scholarships, which I think is a good thing. That's good for the kids. Okay, that's going to give them free education. So before anybody gets real mad about that, oh, that's just money. No, it's not. That actually helps them if they take advantage. Now, if they don't want to study and don't want to take advantage of that and they think, oh, I'm just going to go to the pros, most of you are not going to go to the pros. If you're watching this and you're an NCAA guy, let me assure you, most of you are not going to smell the NFL. So best thing for you to do is learn and focus on your studies and play football for fun, or, I know you take it as more than fun. I was a college athlete, I understand. But most of you aren't going to make it. So go ahead and get your education for free. And if you do make the NFL, well, there you go. Now you're getting a bunch of money and you actually know what to do with it because you're smart. Anyway, I did want to cover these big stories because they're pretty huge. This is going to have a fundamental change in how football's handled from now on. And if you're not subscribed, hit this little button right here. It'll help you get my videos and you can keep up with this stuff because I cover a lot of these types of stories, especially this settlement. And right over here is the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.